So have you ever been scrolling through job postings for a business analyst and just felt completely overwhelmed? Well, you are not alone. Today, we are going to build the definitive skill stack from the ground up, so you know exactly where to focus. Let's dive in. This really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the problem is, every single job ad seems to give you a different answer. I mean, one lists SQL and Python, another is all about stakeholder management. So how do you even begin to sort through all that noise? Well, that's exactly what we're here to do.
You know what I'm talking about, right? You see that job posting, and it feels like a laundry list of every tool and buzzword under the sun. It's super intimidating. But here's the thing. There are eyes, a much simpler way to think about it. A structured model for the skills that actually move the needle. So let's build that model, starting right at the foundation.
Okay, so first up, what even is a business analyst? Let's look beyond the job title. You'll see things like systems analyst or process analyst, and those can be kind of misleading. For now, let's just ignore the titles and focus on the core function, what a BA actually does.
This right here, this is the heart of it all. At its core, a BA is a problem solver, but they don't just solve problems in a dark room by themselves. They do it by getting people to talk to each other, creating a shared understanding of what's going on, and then translating all that messy, ambiguous chaos into a clear plan that actually creates value. And here's what that looks like in action. You can almost think of it like a little three-act story. Act 1, you dig deep to understand the real problem, the root cause. Act 2, you look at all the potential solutions. Is this a simple fix to a process, or do we need brand new software? And the grand finale, Act 3, you communicate, making sure everyone is on the same page from beginning to end.
All right, Section 2, the foundational skills. And here's the best part, and I really mean this. You probably have these already. Now that we know what a BA does, let's look at the skills that you have been building your entire career. These are the bedrock of the role.
These are the big three, the absolute bedrock. Communication, and that's not just talking. It's writing clear emails, giving good presentations, even just drawing a quick diagram on a whiteboard. Then there's problem solving, that innate drive to ask why until you get to the real issue. And finally, critical thinking, which is all about taking a step back and asking, wait a second, are we even trying to solve the right problem here?
So moving on to Section 3, the Business Analysis Toolkit. Okay, you've got that solid foundation. What comes next? Well, now we start adding the BA-specific techniques on top. This is your professional toolkit, the structured, proven methods you'll use to apply those core skills.
And a huge piece of that toolkit revolves around one thing, requirements. Now, to keep that whole process from turning into a complete mess, the best BAs think about it in 3 distinct levels. This framework is what brings structure and sanity to the whole analysis.
Okay, let's break this down, because it's super useful. At the top, the business level, you're looking at the big picture, mapping out how the business actually works using process maps and workflows. Then you go a level deeper, to software. This is where you get specific about how people will use the system, with things like use cases or user stories. And finally, you have the information level, where you're figuring out the data itself, what it is, how it's organized, all that good stuff. Each level has its own tools to create that clarity we've been talking about.
All right, Section 4. Let's talk about the essential people skills. You can draw the most beautiful, most perfect process map in the entire world. But if you can't get people to agree on it, it's pretty much useless, right? This is why the most effective BAs are absolute masters of the human side of this job.
I love this quote. It's really the BA's mantra. And turning chaos into clarity isn't a technical exercise, it's a deeply human one. You have to build trust so people give you the real story. You have to influence people without having any formal authority. And you have to be resilient. It's all about guiding people through the fog of uncertainty.
And these are the skills that make all that happen. Relationship building is huge, so people trust you. You have to be self-managing and plan your own work. And yep, you gotta have a bit of a thick skin, because your first draft is almost never the final one. Most importantly, you have to get comfortable with ambiguity, with starting a project when you don't have all the answers yet.
And now for Section 5. Let's tackle the elephant in the room, the one thing that causes the most stress for people looking to become a BA, the dreaded technical skills. Well, I'm here to tell you, I promise it is probably not what you're thinking.
And here it is. This is the whole ball game. The myth is that you need to go learn how to code. But the reality is, your job isn't to build the system. Your job is to describe the system so clearly that someone else can build it perfectly. You don't need to be a programmer, you need to be an architect. You create the blueprints. So this is your actual technical toolkit. You use things like use cases to spell out every single little interaction between a person and the software. You create wireframes to show a visual blueprint of what the screen is going to look like. And you build data models to explain the information that's working behind the scenes. These are the languages you use to speak to the development team.
But you know, there's one more skill. It's not something you'll ever see on a job description, but honestly, it underpins everything we just talked about. It might just be the most important technical skill of all, just having the courage to ask questions.
This quote is just so perfect because we've all been there. You're sitting in a meeting, someone uses a technical term or an acronym you don't know, and you're just terrified to look stupid by asking what it means. A great BA is the one who's brave enough to push past that fear. Your job is to create clarity, and you simply cannot do that if you don't ask.
Okay, last section. Your path to a BA role. We have built the full skill stack. We've got the foundation, the toolkit, the people skills, and what technical actually means. So, how do you put all this together to land that first or next business analyst job?
Now this might be the most important piece of advice in this entire breakdown. Start where you are. Your current industry knowledge, it doesn't matter if it's in insurance or marketing or customer support, that is your single biggest asset. Look for BA roles in that industry. You already get the business problems, and that gives you a massive, massive head start.
So, here's the big takeaway. You already have the foundation. You have valuable experience from whatever you're doing right now, and you have a clear map of the tools and the mindset you need to build on top of that. The foundation is there, so the real question is, what are you going to build? What problem will you choose to solve first?